All right, welcome to What Ails Ya video series. Today we're going to be talking about a Keezer build. So basically you take a deep freeze and you convert it into a kegerator. Super simple. There's some things that you need, but it's really easy. So what you're going to see me doing here is all I'm doing is taking this new deep freeze. You can use used ones. We're just building this for a customer, so we bought a new one. 7 cubic feet. It should fit about easily five corny kegs in here, or 5 6th barrels. So those are the tall, skinny ones that you can get from like Bevmo. I'm just going to take everything off here. You're going to see me. I'm going to take off the lid. There's 6 screws in the back. There's 3 on each hinges. You just pull those screws out, and the lid comes right off. You're just going to set that aside because you got to build a collar around the top here for the taps. All right. So next we're just going to measure the front of the Keezer where the taps are going to go. And I like to go a full length of wood from the start of from one side of the Keezer all the way to the other side of the Keezer. So it's a solid plank of wood on the top there. And this, you're going to see that I'm using 2x8. There are so many different materials that you can use. You could use pallet wood. You could use 1x. I mean, there are so many different material that you could use. So you get creative with this. In this instance, I used a 2x10 for a couple reasons. I like having the taps a little higher. It also gives you more room inside the Keezer for the kegs. So you can see I have this first piece. It goes from one side of the Keezer all the way to the other side of the Keezer. And then you're just going to, the sides I have, they go all the way back. So each side goes all the way back, and then the back piece sits between the two sides. That's just how I do it. Get creative. All you're really doing here, guys, is just building a collar. So you just want a collar all the way around it, something that you can attach the lid to, and the taps. All right, now that I got all my pieces cut and kind of dry fitted in here, I'm going to grab the lid and I'm going to stick the lid on top, and I'm just going to make sure that it all kind of fits good. Make sure I don't have to make any more cuts before I screw it all together. So this next part, you're just going to see me kind of dry fitting it, making sure that nothing's rubbing inside, that the seal is making a good seal on the top. All right, now that the pieces are all dry fitted, we're going to attach all the woods together. So there's different ways you could do this. I've seen people do like really nice lag bolts, and they go through the front piece here right into the side pieces. I'm going to use a pocket hole or a jig, and you'll see that I'm going to drill holes on the inside, and they create a pocket for the screw. So that's how I'm going to attach them. And then once I have it attached, you'll see that so once I had all the holes drilled in, you just kind of line them up and fit it in nicely, and then you just screw. I literally have 4 screws in this whole collar. 2, 4, 6, 8 screws. There's 2 in each corner, so 8 screws total. It makes it look nice. It holds tight, and as long as you have, square corners, everything should fit nice and tight. So we dry fitted kegs. That's how I know that 7 cubic feet freezer should hold about 5 corny kegs or 5 6 barrel kegs in it. The pocket hole, I like the looks of it. It actually holds tight really good. There's a little pre-drilling, plus you need this pocket hole drill set. But I've used it for so many different things, so it's a good tool to have if you're looking to add to your tool collection. Otherwise, you can put screws through the front on the edges or lag bolts through the edges. There's really no wrong way of doing this. You just need to make sure that it's nice and secure. All right, so this next part, I just got some stainable wood filler, and I'm just going to fill in some of the cracks, the imperfections on this 2x10 piece of wood that we're using. I also sanded it down outside, so just to get, and I think I used 80 grit sandpaper just to get it nice and smooth. I rounded the edges on the corners to, so there's nothing sharp. Uh, so I sanded all the whole wood, and then I am here putting on the wood filler that you see. I'm just using my finger. You could use a putty knife if you want. It's pretty simple. And then we're going to stain it a red, dark red color is what the customer wanted. You could paint it, you could burn it, you could do a bunch of different things with it. Be creative, have fun with it. I did not video the staining process, so the next thing you're going to see is us putting the Velcro on to attach. All right, so now we got it stained, got it prepared. Now we just got to attach it to the freezer. There are a lot of ways of doing this. I prefer using Velcro, so I use a industrial strength Velcro from, I think I got this at Home Depot. But there's a couple reasons why I like using this. The biggest reason is it actually is if you ever decide to sell the freezer, or most likely what's going to happen is potentially the freezer will break, especially if you buy a used one. So this way you can actually pull it off, replace the Velcro, and get another freezer, and you're back. Another good thing about the Velcro is it actually will seal all the way around and insulate. There's other ways of attaching it though. You could glue it down with silicone. It's a little messier, but it's easily done. So once again, there's no right way, there's no wrong way of doing this. You just want to make sure that it's secured to the top of the freezer, and that you can and that it insulates it somehow, because you don't want a lot of air leaking out through there. Plus, when you're going to open up the lid, it's going to be attached to this wood, so you want it to be kind of held to the Keezer a good amount. So keep that in mind, and let's move on. All right, so pretty much all you do is you pull off the other side of that Velcro. It's a lot easier if you have two people. I had someone help me here, and we set it down on top of the freezer, and once you're going to only have one shot at this, so make sure you get it nice and straight before you set it down. Set it down on there, and then just press firmly. I just set the lid back on, and I'm going to screw the lid back into the wood here. Once the lid is secure, you'll see we're going to open it and close it. On this particular one, it's set back a little bit, so I had to use my router and kind of route out the back edge of the 2x8 on the inside, so it would shut nicely. But it fits good. It's nice and secure, and yeah. All right, so let's start adding the faucet handle, the faucets, the shanks in the wood here. So the customer here wanted them centered on the wood. I've seen them off-centered on the wood to one side or the other. I've seen them on the side of the Keezer. You just have to kind of play with it, whatever's going to work your situation best. I put blue tape on the wood here. This helps with splintering, so you don't actually splinter the wood. Just kind of helps keep everything clean, as well as it gives you somewhere to write. So you'll see me taking note. I measure a lot. Measure, because you want to measure once, measure twice, measure 3 times, and only cut or drill once. So we're just going to find the best position for these, and we're going to place them. Keep in mind, depending on the style of faucet that you're using, that you want to make sure that the lid won't come in contact with, like if you have a tap handle on it. So all that stuff will come into play, and you'll kick yourself in the butt if you put it in now and didn't think about the lid going up and down if the tap handle leans back a little bit off the faucet. So make sure you take all into consideration. Once you have the holes drilled, you're just going to put it all together. I'm not going to go in too much detail on how the shanks go together, but the the piece that goes through the wood is called a shank. The the item that the beer comes out of is called a faucet, and then obviously the tap handle goes on top of that faucet. You'll see all these here. We can do another tutorial if you want. Leave a comment down below on how a shank goes together, but you can, or a faucet and a shank go together. You can get shanks at any variation of length. All right, now that we have the faucets and shanks attached to the front where he wants them, once again, you have to decide which side you want the CO2 tank on. Are you going to have the CO2 tank in the Keezer? When it comes to CO2 tanks, there is no benefit or advantage of having it in or out. It's a personal preference. If you ask me, my personal preference is having it outside the Keezer because if you're moving your kegs around on the inside, your CO2 tank's eventually going to end up falling over because the lines are attached. So when you have it outside, it's more secure, won't fall over. So here he wanted it on the outside and he wanted it on the right side of the Keezer. Once again, personal preference. You could have it coming out the back. You could have it coming out the left. You could even have it coming out the front if you want. There's really no right or wrong answer here. You just have to decide. So run the hose through, and then this particular one has 2 taps. So we just teed off the CO2 line, did the connectors for the CO2, and then ran the lines for the beer. Now he's a home brewer, so we're connecting ball lock connectors here. This can easily be connected to a commercial Sankey tap that would hook into a commercial keg. So pretty simple. So we would just do different taps on the connectors on the inside here. So once again, remember there's can be 5 taps or 5 kegs in this Keezer, so he eventually can grow and add 3 more taps if he would like. A little pro tip: if you take a cup of water, put it in the microwave, get it really hot, you can put your hose into it, and for 30 seconds to a minute, it makes the hose really pliable, and you can slide it right on the barbs fittings for the beer and the CO2 line. Also, keep in mind when you guys are doing this, the CO2 line, when it comes to length, can be as short or as long as you need it. On the beer side, it's a little more important that you have at least 6 feet, and that will allow you to have 10 psi on your regulator. If you watch some other videos of ours, it'll kind of explain that. But you want at least 6 feet of beer line so that you can have 10 psi on the CO2 regulator. All right, so I'm sure some of you are like, hey, this is a freezer. It's going to freeze your beer. So now, as you can see, I'm installing something kind of going to the back corner there. That's the temperature probe that goes in. And then you'll see me hang a controller on the side here. So what that does is the key or the kegerator or the freezer plugged into this unit, and then you plug this unit into the wall, and then you set the temperature on this unit, what you want it to be, 35 degrees, 32 degrees, and then what it will do is if it goes above that, it will turn on the freezer, bring it down below your set temperature, and then shut it off. So you can set it at any temperature you want. A little pro tip that I've learned from experience: you want to have a differential on your controller. So for instance, if you want it held at 35, you'll set a 2-degree differential, and it will turn on your freezer, bring it down to 33 degrees, and then shut it off, and then it won't turn back on until it gets to 37 degrees. That allows your freezer time to settle, because in the manufacturing paperwork it says it needs 30 minutes to, if you ever unplug the freezer, it needs 30 minutes before you plug it back in. So that will just kind of help keep your freezer up in good working order and not be breaking them. I have broken a few, so this is what I've learned, what's happened. Thanks for watching, and like always, if you guys have any questions, feel free to call us at the shop. Make sure you like and subscribe our channel here. And thanks for watching. We'll see you guys next time.